Hey lads and ladies of the internet, I'm Light, and today I'd like to discuss a few of the reasons why I'm hyped for Phantasy Star New Genesis, which should be releasing fairly soon. For this video, especially since it's so late, I'd like to separate it into three sections: what I liked about New Genesis, the improvements they've made to PSO2, and how it compares to a few similar games for people who are looking for something akin to, say, a Warframe or Genshin Impact, but aren't exactly getting what they were hoping for from those titles, or maybe they just want an alternative. Everything should be annotated and timestamps should be in the description or maybe the comment section. I don't know yet at the time of writing this script, and I'm not taking this part out of the video. It is what it is. Anyways, on to what I liked about New Genesis. One of the best parts about New Genesis is the new movement system. It's really nice to be able to explore the map with double jumps and glides and bouncing off of walls in the environment. It really makes the world and the geography of the areas feel so much more important and interesting, and was honestly a breath of fresh air, especially since you probably move around in the game more than you do anything else, so it's really nice Sega spent time making the movement fun and fluid. Not only that, but it adds depth to other systems like gathering and even combat, since you can use the environment to block certain attacks or pick up items while you're fighting. It all blends really well together and makes the game a lot more enjoyable. Then you have the combat, and it's fairly impressive. Yeah, I rate the movement higher, but that's not because the combat or action in the game is lacking or bad. It's actually one of the better examples of combat in an MMO, and even compares to normal games. It definitely reminds me of Kingdom Hearts with the lock-on system and the action-based combat. The animations look great. Everything is fluid and blends well together. The skills have more movement in them and really just give you a good amount of mobility without being unbalanced. It's fast paced but focused, so you have to pay attention to what you're doing, and it genuinely feels rewarding when you beat tough enemies. There are dodging mechanics and iframes, so timing can be very important while still feeling fair, so I never felt cheated. In my opinion, it really screamed easy to learn, hard to master, which I think is the perfect place for an action game, and I commend Sega for doing combat well. Finally, we have the customization, which is honestly insane. You have three layers. Three layers. And you can mix and match different parts of clothing. So like you might have an inner layer, an outer layer, and then I think it's a base layer or whatever it's called. And then you can mix and match all three of those layers and like stack them onto each other to make unique outfits. So like instead of just having a coat, some pants, and a shirt, for example, you could pick any variation of each of those selected layers. So you can really do a lot more than you could in pretty much any other game I've played, when it comes to MMOs at least. And then on top of that, you have extra accessories that you can customize pretty much completely. You can change the size, where the item is placed, the rotation, and in some cases, even the colors of the item, which is amazing. It allows you a lot of creativity in the creation of your character's looks and allows you to make almost anything you want. And I think the way you look and are able to customize your character is an extremely important part of any game, especially in an MMO, where you can interact or show off the way you look, but it doesn't end there. You can also change the things like expressions and even idle and running animations. The game is definitely not lacking on customization. The only way they could improve this is by giving us more options, which is common sense, and allowing us to customize things like our particle effect colors. And these 3 points alone have me extremely hyped for New Genesis. But we also have the improvements made in NGS from PSO2. So for people who might be returning to NGS from PSO2, maybe you didn't like the last game, or maybe you kind of liked it, but you feel like it was dated, this should be a good section for you so you can get a good feel for how things have changed and if you're interested. First off, we have the UI. Thank God. Thank God they have simplified the UI. I played games like Warframe where things are extremely confusing, and PSO2's UI was so confusing, overwhelming, and just gave me like a terrible representation of the game for a period of time that I completely gave up on the game. I was so confused and so overwhelmed that I was just like, I'm done playing this crap. But with New Genesis, the UI is way better. It's not the best UI I've seen in the game, not even in an MMO, but it's still pretty good. It looks nice, it's fairly easy to understand for the most part. This alone could be its own video, honestly, because it's such an improvement, it's insane, but I think I've made my point. Obviously, the graphics are much better. The world just looks nice. The character models are good, although can be difficult to customize exactly the way you want them in the character creator. The graphics complement the breadth of movement you have in the game and just makes the experience more enjoyable as a whole. It was really consistent, like there were areas we didn't get to explore in the beta. They were like blocked off by like imaginary walls or whatever, and even those looked interesting and intrigued my curiosity. They also have good enemy and character models. The particle effects for attacks are really flashy. They're like super anime. If you're an anime fan, you're probably gonna love the way the game looks. So I personally have no complaints here as a total weeb. The open world is huge. It's an amazing improvement to the base game, in my opinion. It doesn't feel clunky to explore different areas or go on multiple quests or having to gather on different planets. It just feels a lot less like a chore, which is always a good thing. Like in PSO2, they had that system where you had to gather through other planets, and it was super clunky. Like there were separate planets, like the tab that explained what planet had what, the planet you were on, the type of enemies that were there. It was just so confusing overall that it made doing even basic questing way too difficult, way harder than it honestly should have been. But with this game, since it's open world, things are just easier to do, and there's markers, so you just follow a marker straight to where your quest or whatever is, and you do the quest. It's pretty simple. They've streamlined so much of the annoying and confusing parts of just going from mission to mission or quest to quest, and that alone is a huge improvement. With that, you also have a fun area to explore. Since the movement is so dynamic and has so much depth, it makes the world feel less like a pretty image and more like an actual area that you're exploring and navigating through, making it feel a lot more alive. The materials you can gather now are simple to collect, and it all feels very fluid and easy to do. They look nice, not only visually, but they feel like they belong in the environment. Like, they don't look like they belong in a different game or just they pop out so much that it ruins immersion. They actually blend well with the environment while still sticking out enough so that it makes it fairly obvious that it's something you can collect. And that's nice because it helps immersion and gives you a good sense of direction so you're not like completely confused on what you should be collecting or where you should go. Lastly, we have how it compares to similar titles out at the moment, to give people who haven't experienced the game yet a good idea of what to expect, and also gives players of those games a good alternative. Or maybe the game's lacking a lot of things you wanted, things like that. And for me, I played a lot of Warframe, and for Warframe, NGS has a lot of similar strengths with good customization. The largest difference between the two is definitely the gameplay, as NGS is a lot more focused, and although it's fast paced, it's very deliberate, while Warframe is very casual and in many cases brain dead. So if you want a game with a bit of a Warframe feel or vibe, but with more challenge, and a game that demands more of your attention to play, then NGS might be what you're looking for. But if you prefer the horde killing nature of Warframe and the super overpowered feeling you get from wiping rooms with the single click of a button, NGS might not be as interesting to you. Black Desert Online is another popular MMO with fast-paced combat, but NGS has a lot more customization than BDO, and is probably going to feel a lot more fair when it comes to unlocking and using a lot of the options for clothing in the game. Combat-wise, they are fairly similar, but once again, NGS doesn't have as much of a focus on hordes as more of a boss-type game. Even with lower-ranked enemies or like mini-boss type enemies, they tend to require a bit more attention than most things experienced from BDO, but when it comes to BDO, the PvE tends not to be as much of a focus. So if you want a more PvE focused game, NGS might be a really good alternative. And could be something you're very interested in. Unfortunately, the life skillers and in many cases role players are probably going to enjoy BDO a lot more than PSO2 simply because life skilling really doesn't exist in NGS as of yet. Like, BDO has so many skills and like jobs and crap for life skilling, and they make it important to the game and the economy. So it's gonna be tough for NGS to really reach those levels of BDO when it comes to life skilling and things. But the combat kind of balances that out a bit. Finally, there's Genshin Impact, which I have not played. I have not played Genshin Impact, and hopefully I won't have to for the foreseeable future, as that game's monetization honestly is kind of sickening to me. But the gameplay seems fairly similar, as well as the movement systems. They're going to hit similar fan bases on that front. But NGS is going to win out with the fact that it has more customization and the MMO nature of the game. While Genshin Impact is probably better as of now when it comes to combat variation and customization, and NGS has a bit of variation with a multi-weapon system, but Genshin Impact allows way more versatility from what I've seen when it comes to combining different characters, fighting styles, and elemental effects, combos, being able to switch between those characters on the fly and mixing and matching them together in different ways. I just don't think NGS is capable of hitting that amount of build diversity. Not only that, but I was never super into the original PSO2 story, and like I've seen ads for Genshin Impact that are so interesting, like I haven't skipped the ad. The world building in Genshin Impact genuinely seems like really good, so I'd also add that as a possible improvement that needs to be made to NGS, or just something that NGS may or may not be lacking. Anyways, with that, I'm gonna head out. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I managed to brighten up your day a bit. I'd appreciate if you rate the video, light up the comments below, tell me what you think, and if you want a little more light in your life, maybe hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with anything I release in the future. Anyways, thanks for watching, God bless, and lights out.